Wisconsin Historical Society is celebrating its 175th anniversary this year.
As part of the celebration, the Historical Society is sharing stories of some of the Wisconsin visionaries who changed history.
One of them is Carson Gulley. Joining us today to share his story is Estella Chung, the chief curator at the Wisconsin Historical Society. Estella, welcome to Live at 4.
Hi, Estella, good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start right at the beginning. Who was Carson Gulley?
Carson Gulley was a chef, a local TV and radio personality, and head chef at the University of Wisconsin-Madison from the late 1920s into the mid-1950s.
And why is he important to the history of our state?
He's a storyteller who broke down barriers to share his love of food and had a big impact on housing as well.
And he was African-American, which was kind of a breakthrough at the time?
Yes, so he was, and he migrated from Arkansas in the early 1920s, and he found every opportunity he could to grow his skills at cooking. And then he was working at the Essex Lodge in Tomahawk, and lo and behold, one of the clients at the time was the director of university housing for UW-Madison. Well, the director sampled his cooking and gave him a job offer on the spot. He accepted the position. And then what he did with it was really remarkable. He was the head chef for 3 decades. He had a little sabbatical in between, but he did serve with UW-Madison for a long time. And he implemented a 2-year training course at the university. And this made him one of the first African-American instructors in the university system.
Wow, this is definitely someone everybody should know. Can you talk a little bit about, he talked openly about the segregation that he and his family faced when they tried to buy a house in Madison.
Yes, so if you think about this time period, the 1920s through the 1950s, segregation was still in place, open discrimination was still in place, and he faced this in his work life, but especially he had a difficult time finding housing in the Madison area, and he tried numerous times to find a place to live, and he was bold and a change maker that he actually made a plea in front of the Committee of Human Rights of the City Council. And he kept up his quest, and he finally found housing. And for this, he was a trailblazer to be able to purchase a home in a predominantly, what was at the time, a white neighborhood.
Yeah, those are different times, that's for sure. And there's a building on campus named for him?
Yes, so he died in 1962. And then not long after, in 1965, at the height of the Civil Rights Movement, the UW Regents decided to name a building on campus after him, and as the Carson Gulley Commons.
Is that what you were mentioning earlier, Mark, about where kids on campus go to eat, and they probably never connected those dots?
Yes, it's part of the university housing system, and it was where he served many meals himself. And so to honor him, they named the building after him. It's the first building named after an African-American.
Boy, that's very cool. All right, where can people learn more about Carson Gulley and all the other important Wisconsinites?
So we're having a really interesting year, the Wisconsin Historical Society. It's our 175th year. We're very proud. We're a very long-running historical society, and we're sharing stories of these change makers, people who made pivots, people who made a difference. And they're people who played a key role, but they're not the names you usually hear. And so all of these can be found on our website at wisconsinhistory.org.
Carson Gulley, never knew. What an interesting story.
They're all great stories,
they really are.
And people we should all know about in our history.
Estelle, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Estella. Very interesting. Great to see you.
Thank you.